Hey Streetwalkers, you remember back in February when I had Seattle rapper Sanaa Lathan on the show and I talked about how much I love his music? Well, Sam is putting a new album together and I need your help. Sam doesn't know I'm doing this, so let's hope he doesn't sue me.
Go, Huckleberry's house, bounce. Everybody get the fuck out. My flow's back and know it's been a little while, but it's still set with Amy the Chow. I got 2 pairs of pantaloons and a flannel too. Man, I used to dabble and dab the banana goo. Grew up in Seattle, I've been in and out the zoo, but the left-handed bandit is back.
I'm going to read directly from his Kickstarter campaign, in which you can help for as little as $1. Check it out at kickstarter.com/projects/Sam Lathan. From Sam. The left-handed bandit's back, and I'm going back to my roots, doing everything fully independent and DIY style. From merch to album art, making beats, we doing it all. It's so important to me to have creative freedom, but with that comes risks, challenges, and big costs.
I walk it out like, gone, run, Birdman money, 3 minutes, y'all finish, y'all done. Leave the dinner table till the dinner's all done. To the bottom of 9th inning to hit a home run. Woo!
I do this for you guys, my fans. I don't have a huge fan base, but the fans I do have been rocking with me for hella. And I'm making this album for you. I want you, my fans, to be part of this project.
Is it performative? Of course it is. I'm over you, I'm over that, I'm over this. Got a warrant, haven't been to Florida since. So now I get my oranges imported in.
This is my favorite project I've made to date, and I'm asking you all for help to get this album out there. I want to give this one to the ones who appreciate the art. I want to package it up nice and not just throw a track up on Spotify. I want to give you something real. A signed, physical collector's item. Blood, sweat, Devin the dog's hair, and all. Much love, Sammy Huckleberry Lathan.
I could sell a clone of myself to myself, so I could really just be knowing myself. Give him a hug and get a hold of myself, and then return him when I'm over myself.
You guys are the reason that I'm somehow able to still do this. And there's been a lot of times where I almost stopped doing this. And because of y'all, like, the support, it's just, I can't thank you guys enough. I feel very lucky that I get to keep doing it.
Now it's me again, Streetwalkers. Let's get this album made. Streetwalkers unite and go to kickstarter.com/projects/Sam Lathan.
White knuckle, dry drunk. SSRIs to keep me blind and mind numbed. I was sober for 9 months and couldn't cry once.
Kickstarter.com/projects/Sam Lathan.
I know one day my music will be happy again.
Kickstarter.com/projects/Sam Lathan.
AV in your ears, that's Ambush Van, giving you this audio visual down the most interesting street in the world. With my boy Steve, Fascination Street, you already know. Let's get it when you whip in the Fascination Street. What do you...
Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This episode is a repeat guest. This is Tony Winter's second appearance on Fascination Street podcast. His first episode came out November 15th, 2021, when he was promoting the Showtime series Yellow Jackets and the film National Champions. Both of those projects had not been released yet when he came on the show. In that first episode, we did the let's get to know Tony sort of thing. So go back and check that out. There was a lot of fun stories about him growing up and when he first got into the business. That was a blast. But in this episode, we talk about some of the things that have changed within his industry post-pandemic. He does share some fun stories about some projects he has done since then, notably some plays that he was in and maybe one that he's about to be in, hopefully, cross our fingers. And then we talk about his new film, The Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat. It comes out on August 23rd, 2024 on Hulu everywhere in the United States, released by Searchlight Pictures. This film is directed by Tina Mabry and written by Tina Mabry and C. Marcellus, based on the 2013 novel of the same name, written by Edward Kelsey Moore. It was a New York Times best-selling novel. It stars Aunjanue Ellis-Taylor, Sanaa Lathan, Uzo Aduba, Mekhi Phifer, Julie McMahon, Vondie Curtis Hall, Russell Hornsby, and as Earl himself, Tony Winters. I always have so much fun talking to Tony. He's fun, he's personable, he has great charisma, and he tells amazing stories. I think you're going to love this episode, and I think we're all going to really, really enjoy The Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat on Hulu, August 23rd, 2024. And this is my second conversation with the great and hilarious Pretty Tony Winters.
Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated.
Welcome back to Fascination Street Podcast, Pretty Tony Winters. How you doing today, man?
I am doing well, man. I am doing well. I am good health, good spirits, and I have a roof over my head and food in my refrigerator. I'm always thankful for the little things, Steve. I've never needed a lot to be happy.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Life is good. So, ladies and gentlemen, this, as I said, is Tony's second appearance on the show. His first appearance was November 15th, 2021, and that's where we did the whole from where you were to where you are thing. So go back and check that out if you missed it. We're not going to do a whole lot of that this time, but in that first episode, we did talk about one of my favorite shows growing up that Tony was on. It was Hunter.
Yeah.
Starring Fred Dwyer and, of course, Tony Winters. It was amazing. I loved it. It was a great casting story or audition story as well. We did talk a lot about Yellow Jackets, the series, and National Champions, the movie. Both of those, it was right before those two things came out. So go back and check those out. And don't forget to pay attention to hear Tony talk about that one time he almost froze his fingers off. That was fun too. But this time, we're going to talk about some things that have happened since then.
Yeah.
Tony.
Yes, sir.
How did the rest of COVID treat you?
Wow, man, the world has changed so very much. I guess the biggest change in my life was, right here in my office, this is where I audition now.
Always, even still today?
Occasionally there is the in-person commercial audition, but 99% of the time I'm right here in my office. I got my little setup behind the camera here and I audition at home. So a lot of what I do starts here. Occasionally they want to see you live, so you'll do a Zoom. But for the most part, I'm in here auditioning and sending tapes out into the internet. That's how it's done now.
So how do you feel about that? I know that a lot of times actors get to make an impression when they're in the room. I mean, you even told a story where you cracked somebody up.
I held up my left hand. Yeah, I was holding my script in my right hand, and I was swearing someone in. And that was an episode of NCIS Los Angeles. Yeah.
So how do you feel that has changed the dynamic of, your chances of getting hired? I know that it's the same for everybody, but it's got to be harder to know that, no, you don't get to make that impression on a personal level.
No, you don't. But, once I hate to use the M word, but once I kind of mastered the art of the self-tape, once I kind of got it, it's okay. It's not as much fun as, driving across town, sitting in the waiting room with all the guys that I've known for 10, 20, 30 years and going in and wowing the casting director with a solid read. I miss that whole thing. But the flip side is I get to sit home and work on it. Of course, there's a deadline, but I get to do it as many times as I need until I'm satisfied. I've learned not to put too much mustard on the hot dog. You know what I mean? To use a Chick Hearn-ism, I've learned to do less. And ultimately, in the craft of screen acting, that is more.
I can't remember who it was, but it was a famous character actor who was in the movie. What's that movie where you can't handle the truth? What's that movie?
A Few Good Men, Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, that. So Kevin Pollak, who was in that movie, tells a story about one of the actors, character actor, I cannot remember his name. He was in that movie and he told Kevin Pollak, there's a few secrets to acting. One of them is less is more. And sometimes nothing is best. So like if you can steal the scene without doing or saying anything, then you win.
It sounds crazy, but I've had to unlearn a lot of the things that I started out doing. And I found that if you trust the process, trust listening, it's just a much more effective, especially when you're talking about the lens, it's right there and the camera's right there in your face. And to do too much just is not good. Less is more ultimately in the craft of film acting. No doubt about it.
Film acting, yeah. So that's different from like, on the stage, you really got to project and kind of go overboard with the makeup, with the voice, with the acting. You got to really play it up, ham it up, so to speak, when you're on stage.
I wouldn't say that. What happens internally to the actor is the same. I mean, you research the character the same, you study the character the same, but the physical manifestation is different because you have to reach the back row. They have to know what you're doing. And a lot of that comes through the voice, comes through your movement. And that's how you communicate to the audience, in the rear of the theater. With film acting, I'll tell you a story. Last November, I auditioned for a play for the first time in 8 years.
I was going to say, when's the last time you did a play?
I did one in April. I did King Hedley. August Wilson's King Hedley II at a Noise Within theater here in Pasadena. And like I said, I hadn't done one in a long time. I've been wanting to get back on the stage, because that's where the rubber meets the road for an actor. And when I saw that this production was coming up, I started studying the script and I auditioned. And I found I was really rusty. The director told me, he says, use the whole room. Like, you want me to move? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, what does that mean?
Because, again, on film, you're flat-footed and you just talk to the other guy. There's not a lot of walking around. And to do that, I found that I was really, really rusty. Consequently, my audition was terrible and I wasn't cast. Then a couple of months later, I auditioned in November. The show was cast in late November. So everybody that was cast by December, right? They knew they were cast, but rehearsals didn't begin until February. And I got a call in March asking would I be interested in understudying one of the characters. So I said, okay, cool. Didn't think I'd actually have to do it. And as luck would have it, this is August Wilson. So you have these huge monologues, man. And as luck would have it, the guy that I was understudying had to attend a memorial service. And so I had to go on. With basically one rehearsal and 2 weeks prep time. Wasn't my finest hour, but I got through it. I mean, I knew most of it, but some of it, with all due respect to August Wilson, were my words and not his. Yeah, but they have the piano lesson coming up at a Noise Within theater company in the fall. And I would really like to do that.
Are you going to audition? Do you want me to put in a good word?
I am going to audition. Yeah, it's the same director. So I think politically, between you and me and all of your viewers, I think politically it's kind of owed to me, but nobody at the end of the day owes me anything.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
When you were telling that story, the timbre of your voice and the way you're like the mannerisms that you were saying, it reminded me of that story. And again, everybody go back and check out the first time Tony was on. When you told that story about James Earl Jones and the Black Booties. That is hilarious. I'm not going to spoil it now, so everybody go check that out. But it just reminded me when you were telling that story for whatever reason. I think it was the quality of your voice just reminded me of that story, which I was listening to that episode again the other day just to make sure we didn't overlap things. And I could not stop laughing. That is a hilarious story. Okay, so how was the experience? I mean, I know you said it wasn't your finest hour, but it didn't turn you off of doing, plays again. So
no, not at all. The last show I did was a one-man show called The Devil and Billy Markham, in which, went for an hour. It's comprised of 5 10-minute monologues. It took me a year to learn them. So I know I'm capable of doing the work. That wasn't the issue. It's just that I felt like I wasn't given sufficient time. You know what I mean? So I would really like to be in the principal cast. I would really like to have all the rehearsals that I need to feel prepared to get on stage. But no, man, I love the professional theater. The theater company was fantastic. The cast and crew were amazing. And I look forward to being able to do it again in the very near future.
Well, I'll reach out, see what I can do.
Yeah. It's really kind of refueled my fire. And I'll tell you something else I've been doing, Steve, is I've been screenwriting.
Oh, get out of here.
Yes, I'm a very prolific screenwriter. Most people don't notice about me, but I've written a number of screenplays. I've managed to produce 2 of them.
How many of them am I in? None of them? So far? So far, none?
So far. But I do have a role for a podcaster coming up.
Oh, cool. Thanks. As long as it's audio only, because nobody wants to see this mess.
Oh, yes, they do. They absolutely do. You're a good-looking guy, and you have great taste in clothing, man.
Oh, shit, son.
I'm still going to try that ensemble. I saw you on, I complimented you on Instagram.
Hell yeah.
That was good looking. I'm going to try that.
I look sick in that shot. That's one of my favorite pictures that's ever been taken of me.
Yeah.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Introducing Loom Stupid, where fashion meets quirkiness. Whether you're looking for statement tees that spark conversations or funky pieces that add whimsy to your outfit, Loom Stupid has got you covered. Join the fashion revolution and express your unique style with Loom Stupid. Visit our exclusive website at www.loomstupid.com and discover a world of fashion that's brilliantly bizarre and undeniably chic. New designs are being added all the time. Loomstupid.com. Get your whimsy on with Loom Stupid. Because being silly is the new stylish.
Let's get back into it.
I've been wanting to write a Christmas movie. I've been really disappointed with what I've been seeing coming from my community.
Do you mean the actor community or the Black community?
By most of what I've seen coming from Black filmmakers.
But did you see the one that just came out? Eddie Murphy's one that came out last Christmas?
I did not.
It's called Candy Cane Lane?
I did not.
That's a pretty good one. You might want to check that out.
Okay.
I really, really enjoyed it. Tracy Ellis Ross and Eddie Murphy.
I'm familiar with it.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
David Alan Grier was in it. He's hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyway, check that out. I'm so sorry. Please continue.
They just seem to lack the magic of Christmas. I wanted to do something along the lines of It's a Wonderful Life or Miracle on 34th Street, or even The Santa Claus for a more contemporary comparison.
The stories with literal magic. Okay.
Yes. Not, Home Alone was wonderful,
Sure.
but there was no magic in it. So I had a revelation. I can't get into too much detail about it because it's in the hands of a few power players at the moment. And it hit me like a ton of bricks while I'm flying to Detroit over the holidays. And so that has been in addition to doing King Hedley over the last couple of months, my screenplay, my Christmas movie. It's called Something for Santa, has largely been at the forefront of my thoughts.
Is it sitting with Imagine right now? And I got to talk to Ron. I'm going to reach out to Ron Howard and say, hey, buddy.
I wish you could, or I wish you would.
I wish I could.
I hesitate to say who it's with now.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. So it's already written.
Already written. I've had 2 development meetings with a major director. He has the most recent draft now, and I expect to hear from him any day now and see if he wants to move forward with it.
If he doesn't, let me know, and I'll reach out to Paul Feig. He did a Christmas movie a couple of years ago, which was fucking phenomenal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was called Last Christmas.
Last Christmas.
Yeah, it's called Last Christmas, and it was based on a story written by, oh man, I can't remember her name, a famous British actress who ended up in the movie as well. But it centers around the music of George Michael. So it's called Last Christmas. It's really good.
Yeah, I knew that title sounded familiar to me for some reason.
Yeah,
it's because of the George Michael song.
Yeah, that's why. And
yeah.
It stars the lady dragon person from the Game of Thrones thing I didn't watch. Whatever that little girl's name is, I don't know. But
the Khaleesi?
Yeah, her.
The one who,
she's the star of it.
Okay.
It was really sweet, and there is a bit of magic in that, so you might want to check that out just for your own personal enjoyment. But yeah, Paul Feig, he's been on 3 times. I'm trying to get him on for a 4th one because he just wrapped up part 2 of one of my favorite movies that's ever been. So I'm trying to get him on. But if your director says no, holler at a fat kid. See if I can connect you.
You know what, Steve? I'm not opposed to directing myself.
I'll reach out to you. Let me know if your director bails, and then I'll reach out to you and see if you want to do it.
Okay.
If you want to direct it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling that I want to protect it. Years ago, the director of Sneakers, Phil Alden Robinson, he told me the reason he became a director, because he started as a screenwriter. He was also, Field of Dreams. He said the reason he became a director was to protect his words. And I get that totally. So I don't want anybody messing around with my story.
Sure.
I'm confident I can do it. Just through osmosis, I know the structure of filmmaking. I don't know a lot about lenses and lighting and sort of thing, but that's not really what I do.
Well, that's what the DP's for and the cinematographer, right? That's why they're there.
Exactly. And I directed a buddy of mine. It's the first time I've ever directed a buddy of mine, an episode of his web series called, well, it just recently went through a name change. He's calling it Black Famous now. And I directed an episode of that, which was a lot of fun.
What was it called before?
It's called 2 Degrees. And it's basically about how he has been a working actor for 30 some odd years, 35 years. And he's connected to all these people. He knows all of these famous people, but people don't recognize him. And that's like the bane of his existence.
Yeah, me too. That's how I feel. It's only been 7 years. I know all these people, but nobody knows me.
Well, I know you, Stephen.
That's all that matters.
True that.
Well, good luck on the film, dude. I can't wait. I love Christmas movies, and I love Christmas movies that are, different. Like you were saying, they kind of turned into all the same kind of a thing that at the end of the day, it just becomes uninteresting to me.
Just like the ones on the Hallmark Channel. It's always about the successful small town girl or guy goes off to New York or Los Angeles, Chicago, wherever, and becomes this huge success. Then for reasons that vary from movie to movie, end up going back home and running into their high school sweetheart.
Mm-hmm. Who just happens to be going through a divorce.
Yeah, and wearing a plaid shirt.
always a plaid shirt. It's like it's paid for by the plaid industry.
So it's not just the African-American community, it's certainly the others that are making the same films over and over again. And I just wanted to do something very different.
Well, I love it. I love the idea of it. Obviously, you can't share too much, but just that it would be a throwback to the actual, bringing the magic back into Christmas, I think would be awesome.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of magic going on right now in these days. So
True.
More magic would be amazing. Well, I'm glad that doing these, I guess, work from home audition things, I'm glad that you're getting a handle on it, because it's a whole different muscle to flex.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're a person that is of my age, and then now you got to learn all this new technology, that shit is whack.
Tell me about it.
Well, once you get to be my age, we can talk about that.
I credit a friend of mine. I met her when I was on a show called Queen Sugar down in New Orleans, and she happened to move to Los Angeles. And that had been de rigueur in the South prior to COVID. Everybody was doing self-tapes. So she was very, very proficient in creating self-tapes. So when she moved to Los Angeles, our friendship, has kind of blossomed. And she's the one that really taught me the ins and outs of how to do it.
Oh, love it.
Yeah, so.
Do you want to shout her out or no?
Her name is Ninja DeVoe.
Ninja DeVoe.
Ninja DeVoe.
That is a killer name. I love that.
And she's a killer too.
That is awesome.
No, she's a wonderful lady. She's become one of my best friends in the world.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Tony.
Yes, sir.
We're going to talk about the good stuff. We're going to talk about why you are here.
Okay.
You have a film coming out. It is scheduled for release by Searchlight Pictures on Hulu in the United States on August 23rd, 2024. Is all that still correct?
24, yes.
It is called The Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat. Now, I did a little digging.
Uh-huh.
It's not the Supremes that I thought it was, and that's okay.
No, it isn't.
But you are the Earl that I thought you were.
I am.
Tell me, if you can, basically, what is this film about? I mean, don't give it away, obviously, but what's the crux? What's the pilot, the synopsis, if you will, of The Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat?
It's about the friendships that are shared by the three principal characters, Barbara Jean, Clarice, and Odette, played by Sanaa Lathan, Aunjanue Ellis, and Uzo Aduba, my friend from National Champions.
Everybody might remember Uzo Aduba from Orange is the New Black, but also they brought back this TV show called, I think it was called Treatment or In Treatment, and she was...
Yes, on HBO.
Yeah. And she took over the title role of that film as well. I'm sorry, please continue.
She's a magnificent actress and a wonderful human being.
She's so sick. Okay, so please continue. I'm so sorry. I keep interrupting you.
They meet as teenagers, and it's about the travails, the triumphs, and the defeats of their friendship over the next 40 years.
Did you say 4 years or 40?
40.
40 years. Okay.
0, yes.
Okay, wow.
Yes. I hesitate to say much more than that, but what happens is
don't.
the story begins in 1968 when they walk into my restaurant. They look so pretty, and it's three of them. And this is at the height of Diana Ross and the Supremes' fame and glory. And when they walk into my restaurant, I immediately dubbed them the Supremes.
You named them the Supremes. Check you out.
I named them, and they got a brother from Detroit, a brother from the Motown, from the D, to play that character, which I kind of dig.
I love it. I don't know if you know this. So Diana Ross, right, from the Supremes, she did a song. I don't know if it was in her solo career or if it was during the Supremes. I don't remember. But she did a song called Does Your Mother Know About Me? Or Does Your Mama Know About Me? It was a Motown song. It was a hit for her. You're going to freak out when I tell you who wrote that song. Sit down. Just stay seated. Stay seated, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
Tommy Chong of Cheech and Chong fame. Before he even met Cheech, he was signed with Motown Records with a band called Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers.
Yes. I've heard of Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers.
Yeah, he was the guitar player for Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers, and he wrote that song, and they put that song out through Motown, and then Diana redid that song, which that always just blows me away. It's such a pretty song, and I'm just like, really? That high as hell, dude? he was a previous guest of the show, that's why I know that, but I was just like, that is nuts. And so every time I hear Diana Ross or the Supremes, I just think of that story because it's so unlikely. It's so weird.
I'm a Motown aficionado. And since you're on the subject of Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers, Bobby Taylor was actually the person who discovered the Jackson 5 and took them to Motown.
It's so funny because Tommy Chong, he tells the story, and Cheech also tells the story that it was Tommy who discovered and took the Jackson 5 to Berry Gordy, not Bobby Taylor.
Is that right?
But Bobby's not around, so you can say whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
So that's how Tommy tells the story, is that it was him.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay.
He also tells a crazy story about they were playing at a club, and Jimi Hendrix walked in, and Jimi Hendrix wanted to play with the band. And so Tommy just handed him his guitar and went and sat down. How cool is that?
That's very cool. Hope he didn't set it on fire.
Yeah, no kidding. That'd be hilarious. Okay, so this film, The Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat, is based on a 2013 novel of the same name by Edward Kelsey Moore. Was Edward Kelsey Moore involved in the film, as far as you know?
Well, the screenplay was adapted by the director, Tina Mabry, and Gina Prince Bythewood. I do not believe he was involved with the screenplay. However, he did visit the set while I was there.
Oh, cool.
So I did get a chance to meet him. How involved he was in the production, I'm not educated about that, so I can't speak about it. But apparently he was a friend of the production because he was there for a time. The Supremes at Earl's is his baby.
So him being there tells me that was him sort of blessing the production. Like they didn't change his story so much that it pissed him off, right?
No. In fact, he had this kind of look of awe. I'm sure you've written things, and to see your brainchild come to life like that has just got to be awe-inspiring. You know, to sit in the dark of your home office and write this novel that he probably slaved over for a couple of years before it was published. To see actors playing the roles, giving life to your words, to your story. I've had it on a much smaller scale. It's so powerful and so rewarding to see that happen, man. I can't imagine what he must have felt, especially, and his book was a New York Times bestseller.
Oh, snap.
Let's not forget that.
So besides the three young ladies that you mentioned, this movie also stars Mekhi Phifer. What?
Yes.
And Julian McMahon, Vondi Curtis Hall, and Russell Hornsby. Holy moly. This is a heavy-hitting cast.
Yes. I hope I'm not telling tales out of school here, but each of these characters has a younger counterpart.
Sure.
That plays them as teenagers. And man, when I tell you the younger cast brings the heat, brings the pain, it is no exaggeration. It will not disappoint.
The younger versions of these characters, are they people we have seen? Are they newcomers?
One has certainly made a name for herself, Tati Gabrielle. You've seen her in a number of motion pictures and Netflix series. She is certainly on the come up. The other two young ladies, Abigail and Kiana, you may not know, you may, but I can't speak to the resumes, but they are wonderful. These girls are wonderful. And even the young men who play the guys you just listed as younger guys, the casting is just spot on, just absolutely spot on. Nobody disappoints. Everybody brings the pain.
Love it. Mekhi Phifer and Russell Hornsby, those dudes, for sure, they're not in enough stuff for my taste. They should be in all the things. They're amazing.
Well, Russell does have a TV series, BMF. I believe it's on Stars.
And he was on that other show. He was on Grimm, right? He was like the co-lead on Grimm?
Yes.
Okay.
I actually worked with Russell once before on an episode of Lincoln Heights.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And Mekhi has become a personal friend over the last couple of years. We have a mutual friend, so I see him socially from time to time.
Oh, cool. Did they age you up and down? Or are you not allowed to say? Are you in the future and the past? Or you can't say? Oh, you are.
I don't have a younger counterpart. So I do age.
That's how I should have asked it. I should have said, do you have a younger counterpart? That's what I should have said. Dang it.
No. The young man that plays my son, we see him as maybe a 15-year-old.
Are you the only person who doesn't get younger counterpart?
Of the principal cast, yes.
That's fantastic.
I agree. I like that.
I love that. That is so cool.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Mama said I was born cursed with a life of fearlessness.
Barbara Jane, your friends are here.
If you don't want that hand broke, you better get it up off her. Go on, unzip it. I want blood all over my dress. Come on! Fate might have put me on a one-way street, but I was destined to walk that street well-loved with my girl Clarice and our best friend Barbara Jean.
Look at the three of y'all walking in here all pretty and shiny. Remind me of the Supreme. Welcome to Earl's, all you can eat.
We still look as good as we did back in the day. That's right. Come on.
I heard the news today. The world's a crazy place, y'all.
Without each other, maybe we would have believed what the world told us about ourselves. Broken pieces, hot messes, bad omens. Don't you ever think you don't deserve better, ever.
So you take my hand.
But love was our glue.
I just been thinking, if you were to ever get married, it should be to me.
Oh, all I need is your love.
I was supposed to be born fearless, but that was actually a damn lie.
It's gonna be all right.
Fate seemed to be picking on Barbara Jean for most of her life.
Stop judging me. Oh, all I need.
And Clarice was cursed with something else altogether.
I gave up everything for this family.
I never asked you to.
If your tears take the real of you, I'll go back and tie-dye. Wish I would do that for you, yeah.
We might have been broken hot messes when apart, but together, we painted a pretty damn good picture.
To the Supremes.
To the Supreme. All these things that you do. All these things that you do. Oh.
Let's get back into it.
Bro, your character's name is in the title of the film. So the chances are pretty good that your scenes made the cut.
Oh, I've seen the movie.
Oh, okay, good. Last time we talked about National Champions, you hadn't seen it yet. So you have seen this.
I have seen the movie.
What do you think about it?
It's the best film I've ever done. It's the kind of work I came to Hollywood to do. And I've been so lucky over the last couple of years because National Champions and The Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat are really two of the best films. I mean, I've done 10 or 15 movies and I've had minor parts in most of them. But these are the first two in which I'm a supporting lead and I have a character with an arc. I don't know how it fell into my hands because I know a number of my actor friends who all read for it. And why, Tina?
I think we know.
I'm the prettiest of the bunch.
Well, I was going to say you're talented, but sure, you're pretty too, man.
No, I don't know why. I don't look a gift horse in the mouth. I never asked.
There's horses in this movie?
No horses. I never asked Tina why.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Sure.
No,
Yeah.
just
Why would I
something you
ask?
don't do. I'm here.
Oh my God, you picked me. Why?
Exactly.
That's what I say to my wife every time we have an anniversary. I can't believe you picked me.
There's no imposter syndrome going on with me, man. I've really earned my place in this industry, in this town.
I'm glad you know that.
Yeah. So I'm real comfortable in my skin. One of my first films was with these guys.
He's pointing to sneakers. Yeah.
Robert Redford, Sidney Poitier. It's all downhill from there, man. I worked with freaking Sidney Poitier, Robert Redford, Dan Aykroyd, River Phoenix,
James Earl Jones,
James Earl, Mary McDonnell. Like I said, man, it's been all downhill from there. When I'm on set, I feel like this is where I belong. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is, for better or worse, it's my calling.
I love it. You earned that spot. You earned where you are. And I love that you know that.
No doubt. I heard, what is his name? Guy that starred in The Whale, won the Oscar.
Brendan Fraser,
yeah. I saw him in a video recently, and someone was asking him about advice he would give to young actors. He was at a film festival. And he said, yeah, it's nice being at a film festival where everybody is nice and they get to enjoy the work. He said, but there's a lot of shoe leather that got me here. And that is so true, man. I've worn out a lot of shoes. They're right over there in the closet, And not that I'm in any lofty place, but to wherever I am, however you measure this, I've earned my place. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I got it. Well deserved. I mean, you're there for a reason.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
I have some advice for Brendan Fraser's The Mummy ride at Universal Studios. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are going to get on that ride, and it is a blast, I highly suggest it. There is a regular line, and then there is a single passenger line. And go into the single passenger line, take your friend in that line. You'll probably be sitting together anyway. And if not, you're going to come right out together when it's all over. So
wow,
do that. Go to the single rider line, because what they do is they'll have, so there's 3 of you, cool. And then they'll just grab one person from that single rider line. Or there's there's 2 of you, cool. They'll grab 2 people from the single rider line, and then they fill it up and go on. Single rider line goes real fast at Universal Studios in Florida. Anyway.
Sage advice. I don't know if they have that here in Hollywood at Universal Studios Hollywood here.
I'm guessing, but I don't know.
But, that's my old workplace, man.
Yeah, tell me about when you worked at Universal Studios.
I was living in San Diego. Well, I had taken the Universal Studios tour between my junior and senior year in high school, my first trip to LA. I just was fascinated. I was blown away by this whole experience. Somehow I fixated on the guy at the front of the tram giving the tour. I said, that's a job for an actor. You know what I mean? Long story short, after 4 years of college in San Diego and doing local theater down there, I was so broke, I didn't even have a car. I would catch Greyhound buses to Los Angeles. This is well before the internet or anything like that. I would catch Greyhound buses up to Los Angeles, 2-hour drive. I would stay at the Hollywood Y, and I would catch the city bus out to Universal Studios in North Hollywood or the Valley, and I'd get physical applications. I'd take them back to San Diego with me. For some reason, I felt that the job was highly competitive. I sent in an application a month for 6 months. And they called me for an interview. My girlfriend drove me up, and it was a group interview, like a classroom with 30 or 40 people in it. And each person had to go up to the front of the room and talk about their favorite movie and their least favorite for 5 minutes. Now, while I had been accustomed to doing theater, I was not accustomed to speaking extemporaneously, which is a very different animal. So anyway, I got up there and I just totally blew it. I was terrible. So I got back to San Diego and I got to thinking about it. I said, ask for another shot.
Well, hold on. Before we get that far, what were their 2 movies? What was your favorite and your least favorite?
My favorite movie was Singing in the Rain with Gene Kelly. And my least favorite movie, I think I spoke about, even though I had never seen it, I talked about Debbie Does Dallas.
Listeners who aren't familiar with that title, Debbie Does Dallas is a documentary about a cheerleader trying out for the Dallas Cowboys cheerleading squad in the 70s, I think. Oh, go ahead.
Is that what it's about? Like I said, I had never seen that. I just had to come up with my least favorite movie.
From what I understand, that is the storyline, but there's no clothes involved in that movie.
No, it was a legendary adult film. And I was a kid I was 20 at the time.
That is hilarious. I can't believe you didn't get the job.
No, exactly. So anyway, I go back to San Diego.
I'm so glad I asked that question.
I don't know where that puts me now, but so I go back to San Diego and I say, ask for another shot. So I called the guy up on the phone who, arranged for my interview, and I asked him if I could come back. He said, yes.
He said, yeah, you were hilarious. Come on back.
What I did was I wrote down my favorite movie and why, and my least favorite movie. I can't even remember what my least favorite movie was, but I wrote a 5-minute speech and I memorized it from beginning to end. And I went in there and I wasn't fighting for words. I knew everything I was going to say. I spoke effectively and got the job. When I started there, they were shooting Back to the Future. You had to do a week of training. And that was my first job in Los Angeles. That's how I got here, man. I came here with $35.
When you say they were shooting it, did they shoot it at Universal Studios?
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, they shot a few things. Like I saw recently online that the house that the McFlys lived in was in Van Nuys somewhere. But Hill Valley, that downtown area, the restaurant where the future mayor worked, that was all on the Universal back lot in what's called Courthouse Square.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was my first job in Hollywood, man. I worked there for 2 years, and it was wonderful. Absolutely. Well, in fact, a lot of those guys that I worked with are still good friends to this day.
Let me ask you this. This is a weird question. Mm-hmm. Did you meet anybody working there that helped further your career as an actual actor?
Yes. Where do I begin?
Oh, wow.
Tony Sepulveda, who is, well, last time I checked, I could be mistaken about his title, but he's the vice president now of casting at Warner Brothers.
Get right on out of town.
Well, he doesn't give me a job by any stretch of the imagination.
Not.
But no, he called me in for a pilot that starred John Stamos called Favorite Son that wasn't picked up. I was going to be a series regular on that.
But you did get that role, right? It just didn't get picked up?
I did get the role,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah, they should have just called it, Who Else is Pretty? Yeah, that's what they should have called it.
Yeah. Stamos, good dude, man. Good dude. And then my friend Sandy Logan. I don't think she was the casting director. I think she was an assistant at that time on Coach. Remember Coach with Craig T. Nelson? I got a guest star on Coach. And it was as a result of Sandy calling me in, but I had to come in and audition like any other actor.
Sure.
It's just maybe I had a little more access to that audition because of my relationship. And then other people in other ways. Steve Hafer is a good buddy of mine. He's a director on a lot of kid shows, like the Disney Channel kind of thing. He's had me come in for a few auditions. In fact, as a result of Steve having me read for Zoe 101, he didn't direct my episodes, but he introduced me to the casting directors. And I got 2 episodes of Zoe 101. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So when you walk into that room and you see somebody that you used to work with all those years ago, are you like, hey, I know you. Remember me? Remember we're friends. Hey, like, is it old home week or you're just like right to business?
Yeah, you keep your game face on it because there are other people in the room.
And you don't want to give the impression of impropriety. Sure.
Right. Or that I'm there as a favor. In fact, it becomes more of a responsibility to do well because your friend has stuck his neck out for you.
I do.
So you want to come in there and wow the producer and the director and the writer or whoever else happens to be in the room and earn the job on your own merit. They only got you in the room. They didn't give you the job.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for all of that. That was fun. Again, ladies and gentlemen, streaming on Hulu, released by Searchlight Pictures all across the United States, August 23rd, 2024. I know where I'm going to be, and it is in my bed with my wife on date night, right in front of the TV, watching The Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat. I am so excited to see this film. Every time I see you in anything, even if it's just this, you're so charming. You're a gosh darn delight, Tony.
Well, God bless you, man. I appreciate that.
I'm very excited to see this film. And like I mentioned, I mean, half the cast I'm unfamiliar with, but the half of the cast that I am familiar with, it gets me more excited. I love seeing, up and comers, and, you're giving your stamp of approval on these people. So I'm super excited.
You're going to be blown away. If I had to liken this film to anything else, I would place it on par with, to me, it feels like Waiting to Exhale meets The Color Purple.
Which The Color Purple, the original one?
The original. Yeah, there's shades of that. Not a lot, but there are shades of it.
Shades of purple.
Yeah. You are quick, man.
It was laying right there. I had to pick it up.
Yeah. High Heart went right over the plate.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, seriously, don't miss this film. I can't wait to see it. I can't even pronounce. Is it Aunjanue? How do you say her name?
Aunjanue.
Aunjanue. Oh, duh. What's wrong with me?
Exactly.
The Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat. It stars Aunjanue Ellis-Taylor, Sanaa Lathan, Uzo Aduba, Mekhi Phifer, Julia McMahon, Vonnie Curtis Hall, Russell Hornsby, and as Earl, the great, pretty Tony Winter. It's directed by Tina Mabry and written by Tina Mabry and C. Marcellus. Is that right?
Yes.
All right, cool. Based on the 2013 novel of the same name by Edward Kelsey Moore. And we already found out a few minutes ago that Edward was there. So his stamp of approval is implicit. Oh my gosh. Pretty. So you got to say it twice because you're back 2 times. Pretty, Tony.
You stop with that.
Thank you so much for taking the time again out of your busy day on your hectic, I don't know, auditioning for everything from your quaint little house schedule to hang out and let us get to know you even more on Fascination Street, man. I really appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate you, Steve, and I appreciate you doing your homework.
Holler.
Having interesting questions to ask.
No.
Giving me this platform.
Fascinating questions.
I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Fascinating questions to ask, and you're intellectually curious, and you got a wonderful sense of humor, and it's always a pleasure to sit down and chop it up with you, man.
100% my pleasure. Dude, seriously, thank you, man. This was a blast. As always, I expected nothing less. You bring it every single time, which is one of the reasons that I love watching you on the screen, because you bring it there too.
I do.
Dude, you have a great rest of your week, man, and I will holler at you later.
I appreciate you, man.
Bye, buddy.
Au revoir.
Opening music is the song FSP Theme, written, performed, and provided by Ambush Vin.
Closing music is from the song Say My Name off the 2021 album Underdog Anthems, used with permission from Jack's Hollow. If you like the show, tell a friend. Subscribe and rate and review the show on iTunes and wherever else you download podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. All the episodes are available there as well. Check me out on Vero at Fascination Street Pod and TikTok at Fascination Street Pod. And again, thanks for listening.